I'm going to step in here. With lunging, this is where I normally see my third type of knee pain, which is medial knee pain. So it's pain sort of around here. So when my runners come in and they say, I've been told I've got a weak bum, I've been doing my lunges, I've been doing my squats, but now I've got pain on the inside of my knee. And I think to myself, right, okay. And they're adamant. My personal trainer showed me how to do my lunges. Okay, great. We learn quickly that what we show you and what you nod and say, yep, I got that, not what comes out, okay? Momentum is a killer when it comes to knees, okay? You can get away with a lot by doing things super quickly, and you say, yeah, I've done 10, brilliant. I would rather that you did 4 slowly, okay? So when we teach them slowly so that you can learn all the different elements, but when you're doing them yourself, you think, I just want to get out of here, I want to go for my run, I don't want to be doing this. Slow it down. As Connor pointed out, when you come forward, if you're lucky, your knee will shoot forward. If you're particularly unlucky, it's going to go forwards and in. And then all of a sudden, it's everything on the inside of my knee here that's fighting really, really hard to hold me here. My bum's not doing as much as it should be. I'm getting a lovely stretch, but it's not really what we're aiming for with this one. And then you're going to push from that position to come back up using muscles that are not designed for that purpose, okay? So if you're doing your exercises and you go, well, my original pain's better, but now I've got this pain, you're still not fixing the problem, you're just shifting it. So keep it slow, keep focused on all of those 4 component parts, and get it steady before you add the speed to it.
Yeah, and we see this with the squat as well. This is the other pain people get when they come down for their squat, and the feet will shift out and the knees come inwards. Now I'm exaggerating, it can be a lot less obvious than this, but the key thing is we want to get these feet straight ahead, even if naturally it feels like you're standing like this, okay, which is very common for a lot of us. We want to get you parallel with those feet, and when we're coming down, we're actually looking to create a rotational force through the floor, so as if we're spreading the floor with our feet. Okay, so my weight is mostly through my heels, but I've got the big toes pushed through the ground and the toes splayed wide in my shoe. Okay, with that in place, if I try and spread the floor, the ground won't let me. Okay, so the feet aren't actually going to move, even though I'm creating that, rotate that force. And the force is actually coming from my hip. Okay, so I'm activating glute med, the muscles which stabilize us, and it's going to keep the knees wide. So there's no way that these knees are going to collapse inwards if I'm actually activating the muscles which hold them wide. Okay, and it actually feels a lot better. This is a cue that you won't hear many trainers talk about.
The other thing that cue does really nicely is it makes you think about making sure your weight is spread equally between 2 legs. Before we get to the stage that we seek attention for knee pain, usually what we do is we go, well, this is great, I can squat, I'll just take some of the weight off of the sore knee, and then I can still do my squats, I can still do my lunges. Same thing with running, you just go, oh, I'll just run slightly towards my running buddy on the left-hand side, she won't mind, it's okay. So you learn to offload the painful structure. When you're looking to rehab it, or you're looking to strength train, you need to make sure that you're balanced between both legs. By using that cue of screwing those feet, it will make you go, oh, actually, I'm way over here, I'm going to fall over, I can't balance that. So it's a great one to have in your repertoire to correct a multitude of problems.
Yeah, I shouldn't forget, for almost all those exercises, I've forgotten to mention the butt should be clenched. Okay, even when you're lowering down, it's quite unnatural to be clenching your butt when you're lowering down, but you can actually do it. Clench your butt, it's going to stabilize your pelvis, and when you come back up, that's a bit easier, okay, when you're actually doing what the muscles think they're supposed to be doing, which is extending the hip. It's a lot easier to engage the glutes. So just remember to do it at the top and bottom of each rep, and then try and hold on to it in between.
So one of the other big causes of anterior knee pain is hill running. Okay, quite often my hill runners will come in, or my runners will come in, and they'll say, oh, I've been recently getting pain in the front of my knees. And I'll say, well, what's changed? Nothing. I haven't changed my footwear, I haven't changed my distance. There we go. What terrain are you running on? Oh, yeah, I've started chucking hills in. Okay. A lot of hill runners, they have a tendency to follow their chin up the hill. It's getting tough, so they're, all right, I'm going to follow my chin. You know my drill with my chins. It's all about that center of gravity. You're taking that load forward, you're overloading your quads. The other thing that we get them doing is they start pulling up the hill. They're really pulling those legs as they're coming up, really working those quads really, really hard, okay? What they're missing is that if you push off the ground behind and blast your leg up, all you've got to do is control it with your quads, and the push is coming from the glutes and the hamstrings. So you're pushing yourself up the hill, not pulling yourself up the hill. Often when we get to the top of the hill, that's when you start to be aware that those knees are really tight, and you think, whoa, but the runner in you says, I'm not going to stop, I'm going to keep going. So you keep running. You've really worked those quads hard. You've probably burnt through quite a lot of the oxygen reserves that you had. So some of those muscle fibers have started to lock into a bit of a spasm because they're no longer having the oxygen and the nutrition that they need to keep firing. So your quads have started to go into a bit of a tight spasm. That's pulling that kneecap closer to the bones underneath, but you're going to keep running. So now you're rubbing your kneecap nicely, and you think, okay, and it starts to level out as you run on the level bit, and then you come to the downhill. That's what undoes a lot of my runners, is they're like, yeah, I know it gets tight when I go up, but it's when I really come downhill. If you're not clenching your bum as you're running down a hill, what you're doing is generally landing through the front of your foot and shearing that load up through your kneecap, okay? They can do wonderful things now with surgery. You can have a bespoke knee replacement where they just replace the kneecap if you want. You can have the inside of the kneecap done. Personally, I want to keep hold of mine as long as I can because I kind of attach to them. So if you think about squeezing your bum, leaning backwards and using your hamstrings, when you're coming through with that leg, it should be your hamstring that decelerates the bottom part of your leg. It slows you down, so when you land, you're coming through your heel, and that force is coming through that cartilage shock absorption, through the knee joint, through the femur and the tibia, rather than landing through the forefoot, and boom, that shock is coming straight up through your patella tendon, through the thinner piece of cartilage behind your kneecap, straight up into your quads, okay? At that point, you are going to have wonderfully rested hamstrings for the rest of your run, but very, very sore knees and quads, okay? So again, it's remembering your pulley mechanism, okay? Don't always pull, sometimes you want to push. Okay?
And it's probably a good time for me to show you an exercise that I'm not looking forward to because I've got slightly tight hamstrings today. But it's very good for putting control in your hamstrings. We've probably all heard of, leg curls, whether it be on a machine or with a Swiss ball. But a good one which does require either a ledge or a partner. This is like your eccentric calf raise that we've shown you, where we go up on 2 legs and down with 1. So we're not actually going to do any work to lift back up. It's all about lowering down slow. She's got to hold my ankles down really hard because most of my body weight's about to go through those legs. And we're basically coming down as slow as we can before we have to drop. Okay? So if you imagine the muscles in my hamstrings are having to work really hard, especially right about now where I fail, and then we're down. Okay, if you do a few of those, you'll be sore for a few days. It's the lowering phase that causes muscle soreness. Mine was, kettlebell swings the other day. That's caused the soreness in my hamstrings. And I'll just run you through that now as well, because it is a very good exercise for the hamstrings, also for the lower back and the glutes. And this is very relevant to knee pain because, again, a lot of people get this exercise wrong. If you see someone doing a kettlebell swing, a lot of people, not everyone, will be using their knees to try and lift up, almost like a squat, and they'll be using their shoulders to swing the kettlebell up, and they'll be basically doing this.
The squat is the heels come up off the ground. So it's all quads coming through there.
Mm-hmm. So what we want to be doing instead to engage the muscles down the back of your body is coming into a bit of a hamstring stretch at the bottom of the rep. This might be just to start you off, but then we're actually driving the hips forward to then bump the hands forward, and obviously with the kettlebell, and then we're just letting the kettlebell swing back down between our legs. On the second swing, we're going to allow ourselves to lean a bit further forward with that nice flat back, so that we get that stretch in the hamstring as the kettlebell comes down between the legs, and we're driving back through with the hips. So in full speed, it's something like this. I thought about using the lantern over there, but I don't know if Neil would agree.
you should be spotting here, if you've been to a few of the workshops now, is that there's a huge overlap in which exercises fix which problem. So you should be feeling a little bit reassured that you don't need to spend 7 hours in the gym to be able to be a runner. You just need to work the key muscles in a key way. So we keep talking about your glutes, about your hamstrings, about your feet, about your posture. It seems to fix everything because it does. Okay, so there's a lot of overlap there. You've seen the same exercises several times because they are the key ones. They are the ones that we truly recommend that treat a multitude of problems. Okay, so the last type of pain that we're going to touch on is a meniscal pain. Okay, how many of you guys have had cartilage problems in your knees? Okay, I got 2 of them. Okay, so most of us are rocking around with at least damage to our cartilage, if not tears. As I touched on earlier, it's got a very poor blood supply, it's got a very poor nerve supply, so we don't tend to know that we've hurt it. It tends to be a secondary finding. You'll go in and have an MRI done because you've got a ligament that's not working properly, and they'll say, oh, and you've also got a posterior horn tear of your lateral meniscus. And you go, what? How did I do that? It can occur most commonly through a pivoting injury. So we don't deny about touching on this because often when we're running, we're not wearing cleats, football boots, anything with a spiked.
Yeah, mine was football.
Okay.
Mine was football.
I was skiing, but we'll go for that day.
It's not running sport.
Yeah, no, never running sport. So we'd use a studded shoe as an example. So if you've got studs in your shoe and you're on the ground and you suddenly want to change direction, in a flat shoe, in a running shoe, when you want to change direction, you're going to twist and it's going to come from your foot. If you're planted and you've got studs in your shoe with your weight through that foot, when you twist, it's going to come from your knee. It's that pivoting action that twists the tibia against the femur and creates that tearing and that splitting of your meniscus. Okay? So although it's not commonly caused by running, it's very commonly irritated by running. Okay? There is the phrase out there, and it's one of my bugbears, that people say, oh, you shouldn't run, it's bad for your knees. My retort every time is you shouldn't do anything that's bad for you because usually your form is wrong. Okay, if you do anything poorly, it's going to hurt. Okay, if you do squats wrong, it's going to hurt your knees. It's not just running, it's not just impact. You can swim with a screw kick and that'll hurt your knee as well. So even non-weight bearing stuff will create problems for your knees if you're not doing it correctly. If you've got a weak spot in your knee, a hot spot in your knee, I know I've got one in each knee. I'm just lucky. Okay. That's where you've got to make sure that you do the maintenance before the problem occurs, okay? Connor and I quite frequently will video each other running just to check in. It's not because we've got a problem, we just want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we know what we're doing. So if we run together, what do you do with your right foot? Why can I hear that foot? Or he'll say to me, what is this? Okay, check in frequently. It's okay to just have an MOT on your form, because if you start to get a little bit of a flick or a tiny little bit of a collapse, or you've suddenly decided that you want to spin off your back heel, if you've got a weakness in your knee that you're not aware of because it's not painful, it's going to become a problem. If you keep doing that motion, if you think how many thousands of times you would do that action during a run, it's going to become painful and you're then going to have a bigger knee problem than the biomechanical problem that we see in the form of the running. Okay? So we won't go too much in depth of meniscal problems because they tend to be very varied in their nature, but they're probably sort of the last one that I would touch on in terms of how it affects a runner. You do have ACL and PCL problems, which are the 2 ligaments that cross over at the back of the knee. Those guys, generally, again, not caused by running. PCLs, it's usually hitting your knee, so it's the dashboard injury. Tibia hits, femur goes flying over the top. ACL is the other way, it's usually the rugby tackle sort of action, shears it backwards. Good news, as long as you've got strong hamstrings and strong quads, you don't really need those ligaments. Small argument, you should have your ACL repaired. They don't offer repair your PCL. What we see a lot as physios is people coming in for prehab. So they come in, they say, I'm going to have my ACL repaired. Do you know what we give them? Every exercise we've just shown you here today. So all of the exercises we've given you have a vast array of uses. They'll cover everything. But just remember, your knee is a hinged joint. You should use it as such.
Any questions?
All right. Thanks very much for listening, guys.